Hello, everyone. It's Michael Jaco with Unleashing Intuition Secrets. I have Joshua Reed and AlphaWarrior. Oh my God, these guys are blowing up the internet. Oh my God, their shows are like get hundreds of thousands of views now. I'm so proud of you guys. You guys are like revealing so much great info and intel and truth. Wow, wow, you guys are amazing. So this should be an amazing show. We have already, like we just discussed just before the show, what we've been, all three of us have been talking about, and other like Rodriguez and Scott McKay, we said it's coming, and it came today, guys, in DC. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Happy to be here.
Happy to be here, brother. Appreciate it.
All right, Josh, I know you're you're the man with on a mission with this already. You want to talk about the two, unfortunately, National Guard troops that were shot in DC in critical.
So we were having a conversation earlier about the seditious six. And this is the senators and congressmen who were former military and intelligence that came out and said, don't obey unlawful orders. And everybody's thinking that, they're telling the military to subvert orders of their commanders. And I said, no. This is a scapegoat narrative. This is psychological warfare. They are setting up the narrative for something that's about to happen. What they're doing right now, and if we have to look at it like this, is what immediately happened after the seditious six. The White House, Trump administration, they immediately doubled down and said, no, you will obey direct orders from the commander-in-chief. Well, this set the precedent. What happens today? You get two National Guard soldiers shot in D.C. The guy looks like a terrorist. That's just my thought. This is probably going to be treated as a terrorist. If we went from ThreatCon Bravo to ThreatCon Charlie with the military, that means that an event happened, a terrorist event happened.
Well, so on that too, Josh, you had less than a half an hour ago, Mayor D.C. Browser, however you say your name, she came out and confirmed this was a targeted National Guard attack.
Yep. So on the hits of that, the few things that we have to look at is, I was talking to Alpha. I said, we're going to have a false flag operation here. And what it's going to do is it's going to prompt and initiate the Insurrection Act. So they are trying to push Donald Trump into the Insurrection Act. And then this is what you will most likely see happen. You'll see an order come down from a battalion commander or somebody in a command control position. And it's going to be, shoot all protesters in Chicago. I'm obviously making this up, but I'm saying this is what potentially could happen. And they could give National Guard troops the order to shoot. And then what happens is they start shooting civilians, Americans. This sparks national outrage. They say the orders came down from President Trump. And then the Democrats come out there and say, I told you, you should have disobeyed those unlawful orders. And now they have everything to hang Donald Trump with, to impeach him, prosecute him, and remove him from office. This is the beginning of a color revolution. And what they're trying to do is spark a civil war, but in the same instance, remove Donald Trump. This is exactly, if we remember this, Brennan, 2014, went in. His financier for the CIA was Eric Ciccamorella. If people remember Eric Ciccamorella, he was the national security asset on the Ukraine phone call, the perfect phone call with Donald Trump and Zelensky that filed the whistleblower complaint with Vindman. Okay, so Eric Ciccamorella, he funded the Maidan massacre in Ukraine that Brennan operated under the guise of the CIA, because they knew that if they could kill over 100 of the protesters, that this would spark a color revolution and the people to rise up and reverse Yanovich and bring in Poroshenko, which is exactly who they wanted installed. That's exactly what happened. And we are seeing the same inklings happening right now. And in the left, the radical left, they are playing their playbook to a T. They are just checking off the boxes. Yep. And what we have is, I think we got some good people in place. I do. But then we also have some, I believe, infiltration and bad actors in place. We have Susie Wiles, we know, the chief of staff, who is out there putting, withholding information and intelligence from Donald Trump. We know we have John Ratcliffe over the CIA, who's an incompetent fool, who's taking orders from what I hear from the Mossad and just feeding Donald Trump bullcrap information. You got Pam Bondi, who's dragging her feet because she doesn't want the establishment to be taken down and their processes and methods of infiltrating organizations and financiers to be known. So she's going to just step on prosecuting these people. So we're in a very critical position here. And I want people to know that Alpha, myself, you, we've all been talking about some type of false flag operation. I've been talking about this for 5 years. I call it the firestorm. And this is what we are seeing right now rising up. We are right at the foot of this. And so this is the warning that everybody out there is that we have to act now.
I have a slight deviation from the theory that Josh has, but they end up in the same end result. And the way I see it as a potential, and actually these either work can be a contingency for these deep state actors. And I kind of see it as in when the seditious six went out and did this, they kind of cornered Trump that no matter what moves he makes, it's going to backfire on him. You have the one that Josh laid out. The other one is we know that they have infiltration, and we got solid information today that we're not talking thousands, but we're talking tens of thousands that have infiltrated. And that number shocked me. I knew it was high. I didn't realize it was going to be that high. So that, that's kind of adjusted my game theory on some of these things too. But if you have these players that are on, whether it be Antifa or whatever, riot side, and we know that you have some of this infiltration into our military, and you put them in a situation of DC, they can control and create the scenario where you have an American, at least on optically, an American civilian that's shot at by a military member. And then that brings us right into the conversation that Josh outlined, where now you're gonna have the seditious six say, see, this is what we said would happen. This is what we told you was going to happen. And then again, this leads to the end result, the 25th, an impeachment, something to turn against President Trump on this. At the same time, you have multiple members that are names of notoriety in the Republican Party, whether it's MTG, whether it's Massey, people that have pulled a lot of support, at least optically. A lot would argue that, what it's showing isn't really reflecting what's organic, but nonetheless, because we know mainstream media, the Mockingbird media, that's what they're doing. This is the PSYOP for the PSYOPs. And so I would just tell people is you have to use your judgment and discernment on what you're going to see unfold. And I'll give it back to you, Josh or Mike on this. Me and Josh were in Florida about 2 weeks ago now, almost 2 weeks ago. And we had the opportunity to speak with some very important people while we're there. And one of the sets of information that we got prior to us leaving was that the next 6 to 7 weeks were going to be wild.